What I'm about to tell you is not what the media wants you to hear. It's not about leaked emails or flight logs or which powerful men visited Epstein Island. Those things matter, and we're going to talk about them, but they're just surface level symptoms of something far older, far darker, and more coordinated than anyone in the media is willing to say. Because the real question isn't what happened on the island, it's who was behind it. And I'm not talking about Epstein, I'm not talking about global elites like Trump or Clinton, and I'm not talking about intelligence agencies like the CIA or even investment bankers. I'm talking about what the Bible calls principalities, powers, the rulers of the darkness of this age, spiritual wickedness in high places. Ephesians 6:12. Epstein Island may not have simply been a den of abuse. It may have been an ancient high place, a ritual center created by fallen angels, fallen angelic beings, to give them access and influence over powerful men. And if that sounds extreme, stay with me, because by the time we reach Revelation 17 and explain it, the puzzle pieces will just all lock into place, and you'll see the link between this and the end times and something it calls Mystery Babylon. And when you see how, you're going to be utterly amazed. I promise you, this is going to be an eye-opening video. Have you seen the Epstein Temple, located on the highest point of the island? If this island was just about the abuse of young women, what in the world was that doing there? Perched on the highest point of Little St. James Island, the Epstein Temple stands out like a ceremonial high place from ancient Canaan. The Golden Dome is the most striking element of the temple, a polished, gleaming cap that mirrors the design of the Dome of the Rock. Beneath the dome, the structure is wrapped in blue and white horizontal stripes, a design nearly identical to old Mesopotamian shrines honoring Ishtar, also called Astarte, the goddess of sexual ritual and war. On the patio surrounding the temple lie these strange letters and symbols, not from modern alphabets, but markings that resemble Sumerian cuneiform and occult signals. Survivors have described inscriptions inside that seem to vibrate with meaning they couldn't understand, as though they belonged to an older world, speaking through the stones themselves. Yet the most disturbing aspect lies not above, but below. Multiple witnesses have described deep underground tunnels beneath this temple, descending through elevators hidden within the hilltop foundation. These corridors reportedly lead to sealed chambers, ritual rooms, and stone thrones, arranged in a circle, 12 of them, by the way. Spaces carved into the bedrock where unspeakable things occurred. Survivors consistently spoke of an overwhelming dread in these tunnels, as though the darkness itself were alive. That is what the media doesn't want to talk about. But we will. This is Bible teacher Nelson Walters, and this place was definitely not just about the abuse of young women, but something much more evil, if that were even possible. But the abuse was just part of it. And for this video, we need to give a shout out to Tim Martin, a member of our community. When survivors say they stepped onto Little St. James and felt a heavy, oppressive darkness, that's not normal. That's not psychological. That's not stress. This is what the Bible calls territorial spirits, places ruled by ancient beings. It's the same feeling I had when I was on mission in Africa and I visited the point of no return, the fort where slaves were taken onto ships, never to return to Africa again. It was a place of unspeakable evil, and it was very uncomfortable to be there. And when you examine the architecture of Epstein's temple, the high elevation, the directional alignments, the cult symbolism of it there, all of it signals one thing: this place was not built for people. It was built for the gods of the nations. Now, these are not false gods, as you've been told, possibly in your church. Rather, they were fallen angels masquerading as gods Exactly as Paul says in 1 Corinthians 10:20, the things the Gentiles sacrifice, they sacrifice to demons. And that brings us to something most Christians overlook. In Daniel 10, an angel comes to Daniel and says something absolutely stunning. The prince of the kingdom of Persia resisted me for 21 days. Then the prince of Greece will come. Daniel 10:13 and 20. These weren't human princes. Humans can't engage angels in direct combat. These were fallen angel rulers assigned over the nations, a prince of Persia and a prince of Greece. Real beings, territorial principalities, supernatural powers influencing kings, cultures, geopolitical movements. Let that sink in. Perhaps every nation has a spiritual prince, a fallen angel assigned to influence the rulers of that land. They control systems, shape ideologies, pull political strings, and they do it through compromised leaders. Is there a Prince of America, Britain, and Saudi Arabia? Is that what Epstein Island was all about? Compromising and empowering leaders to do the will of the fallen angel overlords of this planet. And this is where Epstein Island becomes much more than a crime scene. It becomes a strategic access point for those dark powers to control this world. All right, so how do fallen angels control political leaders, you're saying? Come on, Nelson. Well, people imagine demons as these little red creatures sitting on their shoulders. No. They are ancient, cosmic rulers, more powerful than human imagination can tell, who are likely controlling the nations, your nation and my nation, potentially from this site. This is why pagan kings in the Old Testament performed all those horrific rituals like child sacrifice, not because they enjoyed them, but because they believed correctly that these acts gave them supernatural power and influence from the fallen angels. So when extremely powerful political, financial, and media leaders fly across the world to gather on a remote island with a temple on a high place, don't think for a minute the enemy wastes such an opportunity. Fallen angels influence nations by influencing the men who lead the nations. Let me say that again because it is so important. It is critically important. And most people are not hearing this from their churches. Fallen angels influence nations by influencing the men who lead them. Is it a surprise that the names Clinton and Trump appear on those lists? The same way the Prince of Persia influenced the Persian Empire, the same way the Prince of Greece steered Greek power. Those same beings may be influencing the modern world through the elite who have allowed the doors to be opened to them. Might the Prince of America be influencing our presidents from there, and in exchange, granting them victory in elections? And in exchange are those same men doing the bidding of the fallen angel principalities. Hey, you'd say, Nelson, that sounds like selling your soul to the devil. Yes, it is exactly that. Was Epstein just a front man? Well, let's look at the scope of his network. Presidents, prime ministers, tech billionaires, royal family members, media tycoons, intelligence officers, and global financial elites. This isn't a blackmail operation. This is a hierarchy. These people rule the world. They're a priesthood. And they were engaging a system designed to compromise men at the highest levels and bind them into a spiritual contract that they could never walk away from. It was selling your soul to the devil. The island becomes the modern version to places like Mount Carmel, Mount Hermon, or the high places of Baal. Blood and sexual immorality are the two core pillars of ancient pagan worship. Epstein didn't invent anything. He was simply the latest purveyor of the old religion. And he's the one that got caught. The religion of the Watchers, the religion of Babylon, the religion that never died. It simply went underground. Think about this. What if the reason the world's most powerful men seem to act in unison, even across nations, ideologies, and political divides, is because They're all being influenced by the same supernatural hierarchy. Not through emails, not through secret meetings, but through the same spiritual entities that control them. True, this would explain why policies across nations move in coordinated patterns, why global leaders all attend the same occult-rooted gatherings, why moral corruption is almost universal in elite circles, and why certain political decisions seem irrational or even destructive of their nations, and why no one in power ever exposes the systems. It's because they're all bound to it. So is this over now? Is Epstein Island finished? No. The power simply shifted to another location that we don't know of yet, because the network isn't physical, it's spiritual. Now it's time to talk about Revelation 17. Now let's let the Bible tie it all together. Revelation 17 describes a mysterious woman seated on a scarlet beast, drunk with the blood of a saint. She's called Mystery Babylon, the mother of prostitutes and abominations of the earth. This isn't merely a city, as many claim, Jerusalem, Saudi Arabia, New York. It's a network of cities, a network of national capitals ruled by spirits, fallen angelic principalities that have influenced kings, nations, and empires, all the way from Babylon to Rome to the modern world, with a spirit of seduction, corruption, witchcraft, and blood, a spirit that intoxicates the kings of the earth, a spirit that uses sexual perversion as a tool of ritual and a tool for granting power. Say, come on, Nelson. Do you really believe that? Well, if you doubt it, just look what Revelation says about this system. With her, the kings of the earth committed sexual immorality. Do you think it means anything except that? And wow, doesn't that sound like Epstein Island? And she made the inhabitants of the earth drunk. Revelation 17:2. In other words, the inhabitants of the earth don't see it. So do you see the connection? Sexual immorality? Not private, but ritual. Kings of the earth, not random, but elite leadership like presidents and prime ministers. Mystery Babylon is the spirit that controls the nations by controlling compromised kings. The real purpose of the island, when you take all this together, the temple, the high place, the rituals, the powerful visitors, the survivors' testimonies, the ancient symbolism, the secrecy, the global connections, you stop seeing Epstein Island as a criminal hideout and you start seeing it as a spiritual gateway for national level control of this earth. Exactly the way the fallen angels did it in the Old Testament. They gain access through human sin, a place where powerful men enter not just into compromise, but into covenantal bondage with these spirits. And you might be saying, no, not our world leaders, not my world leader. Well, how do you think they became world leaders? Do you think they just won it on their own? A place where nations can be steered, influenced, or even ruled by the spirits, just like Daniel 10 describes, because the prince of Persia could influence an empire, and the prince of Greece could rise and fall with Alexander. Why couldn't a modern angel, fallen angel, influence America, Britain, France, Israel, Saudi Arabia, global banking, global media, global government? This is why politicians, media networks, and intelligence agencies want you focused on, superficial, scandalous aspects of this. Who flew where, who slept with whom, etc. Because as long as you think this is about sexual crimes, just sexual crimes, you'll never realize this is about spiritual crimes. The real secret isn't what the men did. It's who they did it for, and how this impacts all the nations and the systems of the world. And the moment the public ever grasps that fallen angels still rule the nations and that high places still exist, that Mystery Babylon is still operating, well, the whole system collapses. And think about what happens when they realize world leaders are actively participating in these modern rituals. So the battle was never political, it was always cosmic. Daniel saw it, Paul saw it, John saw it. The rulers of his age are not human. Does your church teach you this? No, they probably don't. But what we're talking about today is not mythology. This is scripture. And this battle is only heating up. The final goal is your soul. The leaders of his age assemble and carry out the plots of the evil angels, which include AI takeovers and transhumanism. Click right here to keep watching and learn how the elites are looking to transform churchgoers through transhumanism into something less than human, and the evil reason they have for doing it. Till then, this is Nelson, and I'll see you there.